Today, we're talking about how to manage fear and anger so that you can make better decisions. The problem with fear and anger is when they creep in, we generally think in terms of binary decision making. So it's either this way or it's this way. And we have a really hard time understanding nuances when we're scared or angry. And that leads us to that binary way of thinking and not being able to see a different path forward or a compromise or something that would work better for us, our family, our business, what have you.
How do you define fear and anger?
Well, they both happen when we feel triggered. And fear and anger are both uncomfortable emotions, and they put us in a place of lack, and they put us in a place of we feel helpless. We either feel like we can't fix something or something bad is going to happen to us, or we can't get our way, or we can't change someone's mind. But it's all in a place of I can't, and I can't fix my situation. I can't save myself from this. That is how I would describe, like, mechanistically how they feel and how they happen when they happen to our bodies. Now, they can be a force for good. So being angry could influence you to take action, which is why there are no good or bad emotions. There are just comfortable and uncomfortable emotions because anger, while uncomfortable, can be fantastically useful. Fear, while very uncomfortable, is incredibly useful for survival. So these are useful emotions. They just don't feel good. And that's why when we feel them in an instance of important decision making or in an instance where we just choose how, or we need to choose how to properly respond, it's important to know how to manage those emotions.
Which emotion do you think people understand less, fear or anger?
I think, unfortunately, people don't take enough time to understand the majority of their negative emotions. I don't think people would try to understand either very well because fear feels terrible. And so there's this innate need to escape the situation. So you don't sit in it long enough to understand why am I feeling this way. So that triggers quick decision making, which is why a lot of hackers or people that are trying to take advantage of you use fear tactics because they'll say, oh, if you don't do this right away, something bad is going to happen. So it causes quick decision making and not well informed, well developed decision making. So that's the problem there. And then anger makes you feel so certain that you're right. Again, it doesn't allow you to stop and think critically about what you're about to do because anger creates certainty, which is why a lot of people actually like being angry. That's why the angry clickbait works. That's what's creating this polarization in our society is because people actually like feeling angry and they need someone or something to be angry at, which is the other side, which is not your team.
Are these emotions protective or destructive?
Well, like I said, they're certainly both. They're protective because if you didn't feel fear, you'd have a hard time in our society just driving. Like you need to be careful and protect your life, for example. But obviously, evolutionarily speaking, you would need to know where the predator is, or you would need to be afraid that there was a predator and get yourself out of the situation. So, yes, all of the emotions that we feel for a reason, even the uncomfortable ones. I would almost say, especially the uncomfortable ones, because it does drive us to take action.
Why do these emotions feel so hard to control once activated?
They're hard to control because I think that evolutionarily speaking, it would have required action when these emotions were triggered. It would have been a good thing to act immediately. But we live in a world now where we have roofs over our head. We are generally pretty safe, and there isn't this immediacy of needing to protect ourselves. So then we get triggered by other things because that doesn't just go away. It just gets triggered by something else. So now our fear or our anger is triggered by things like the news and social media. So it's designed for us to be acting immediately, which is why it's maladaptive to the current environment because we shouldn't be acting immediately. We should be calming our system to think rationally and make the best decision.
Are we more fearful or angry as a society?
I think generally speaking, probably more angry. And again, that's where the whole teams thing of politics and everything that's going on with social media, because again, anger feels good. Anger feels certain. You're certain that your side is right and the other side is wrong, and anyone who thinks differently is clearly an idiot. That feels good because it feels safe. Fear is used a lot though, especially in terms of all of the clickbait around AI and watch out because AI is taking your job and all of those things. When you make that type of content, people click on it because people want to feel like, oh, I'm in the know and I have the answer because I watched this thing. So both are used a lot in marketing.
Tell the difference between healthy anger and harmful anger.
Well, healthy anger, I would say you're able to evaluate and control and use it for good. So if I'm angry at injustice, it should drive me toward creating positive change. That's good anger. Unhealthy anger is when I let it fester up inside of me and then I'm having outbursts at people that I love. I'm misdirecting my anger at one thing or my stress from work or whatnot at my family and I'm taking it out on them. Not having a healthy outlet for your anger or for managing emotions. Um, if you are someone that deals with unhealthy anger, I highly recommend picking up heavy things. Go to the gym, pick up some heavy stuff. That helps me. Or if you're someone that likes self-reflection, I would say start a journaling practice, start a breath meditation practice. Any of those things are going to help with unhealthy anger. But I think, and if the fastest fix, I think is lifting heavy things because it'll release endorphins and you'll feel better.
What practices help regulate these emotions in the moment?
Like I said, taking up a breathing practice, when you recognize that you're feeling these things, stop, notice how you're feeling, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? And then take a deep breath and respond accordingly. Respond in a way that you still have integrity. So, if this is you and you have been struggling with feelings of fear or anger, know that you're not alone. Or if you aren't struggling with those feelings yourself, but you find yourself sucked into the clickbait that is triggering your fear or anger emotions, just be aware and stop and take a deep breath. Notice how you're feeling. Ask yourself why, and then proceed with integrity. So until next time, count your blessings, love yourself, and stay fabulous.